Hi, Manatee. It's Mrs. Kublank. I have a wonderful story to share with you this week. It's called Penelope Popper, Book Doctor. For all my kindergarteners and first graders, we are learning how to take care of our library books at Manatee because we have a lot of great readers and we need to make sure that we're taking care of our books so everyone can share the books with each other so they don't get hurt and destroyed. So Penelope Popper, Book Doctor. It's written by Tony Bazeo and it's illustrated by Dana Christie. That means the author writes the story. Remember, we talked about that last week. And the illustrator draws the pictures. And the publisher is Upstart Books, so we want to recognize them as well. Remember the parts of the book: front cover, cover page. We have the spine of the book, probably the most important part because we want our books to stay together and the pages, we don't want them to fall out. And the title page, where it tells us the title of the book again. So Penelope Popper, Book Doctor. Penelope Popper wanted to be a doctor. She had a doctor coat, she had a doctor bag, she even had a doctor badge. Penelope practiced doctoring as often as possible, but not everyone liked Penelope listening for heartbeats. Later, Penelope, or taking blood pressure. Not now, Penelope. I'm checking reflexes. Stop it, Penelope. Even our teacher, Mr. Hempel, was often too busy for a checkup. On Friday afternoon, Penelope was awfully discouraged. Go visit Miss Briscoe in the library, Penelope, Mr. Hempel suggested. Maybe she can help. Penelope packed up her doctor bag and headed down to the library. Any new library books? She asked. I'm sorry, not today, Miss Briscoe said. Well then, how's your heartbeat? Penelope reached inside her doctor bag. Oh, it's right as rain, Miss Briscoe said. Penelope slumped to the floor. Why, Penelope, Miss Briscoe said, shall I take your blood pressure? No, Penelope sighed. I just want to be a doctor. Which kind of doctor? Miss Briscoe asked. Penelope gave a puzzled look. Miss Briscoe walked Penelope to the nonfiction shelves. There are many kinds of doctors, Penelope. People doctors, animal doctors, and she pulled a very old and tired book off the shelf. Book doctors. Penelope's eyes opened wide. What do they do? I'll show you, Miss Briscoe said. Penelope followed Miss Briscoe into a large back room. Wow, what's all this? Medical supplies, Miss Briscoe said, her work preparing the dirty book and its torn pages. When her patient looked almost new, Miss Briscoe slipped it into a book care bag. That's what book doctors do. Penelope borrowed some art supplies from Miss Briscoe and stayed long enough to make a fancy sign for the back room door. Then she skipped back to class with the patient. Look at this book, she said, but no one did. On Monday morning, Penelope scanned the shelves and found 3 books that needed a book doctor's attention. She stacked the dirty books on the circulation desk. Penelope, Miss Briscoe said, would you like to be my medical resident? Ooh, what does a resident do? Penelope asked. You'll learn to be a book doctor. Well, I do have my doctor bag right here, Penelope said. Great. Miss Briscoe sorted through the pile. Do you remember the first rule of book care? Wash your hands before reading a book. And boys and girls, if you were at school, we would sing this part together. And we would take our hands and go, wash your hands before reading a book. Wash your hands before reading a book. As you can see, Miss Briscoe said, some children have forgotten that rule. That's really important, boys and girls. When we're reading our library books here at Manatee, we need to wash our hands before reading the book first. That should be a rule always to keep our books healthy and safe, and you healthy and safe. Hospital. Miss Briscoe pulled a canister from the shelf and removed a damp wipe. Books can get sick when they're dirty. Carefully clean the cover and spine of the patient. Cleaning wipes for books. Penelope picked up the canister. I can do that, she said, and she did. Boys and girls, most of the books that we have aren't covered with plastic. They aren't covered with plastic. It's not real safe to put something wet on your book because we don't want our books to grow mold. So if it is a plastic cover, it is safe to clean your books. But most of the books that we have in our library do not. We have to clean it in a different way. So, but we still want to keep them safe. Back in class, Penelope lugged the big classroom dictionary over to the table. She removed the canister from her doctor bag, pulled on her medical gloves, and set to work. "What are you doing, Penelope?" Hunter asked. "Practicing doctoring," she said mysteriously. On Tuesday, Penelope handed Miss Briscoe 2 books, each with torn pages. Book care rule number 2. Turn the pages by the corner. If you were in school, I would demonstrate how we turn the pages from the corner. 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. There are 4 corners in our book, so we want to make sure we turn the pages by the corner. Good job, guys. Well, back in the classroom, Penelope laid the big classroom dictionary open on the table. "Please give Penelope room to perform this delicate procedure," Mr. Hempel said. Penelope gently smoothed the torn pages and matched up the torn edges until the letters on the page lifted up perfectly. Then she carefully attached the strip of book repair tape on each side of the page. "Hey," said Jada, "it's like when the emergency room doctor stitched my forehead back together." Book care rule number 3. 3. Never dog ear a page. Boys and girls, we never take our books and fold the pages and then press down, because what happens is when other children check out the book next, that torn piece of paper will start to tear sometimes. And by folding it and bending it down, it makes it an easier beginning for the book pages to start tearing. So we have a rule, just like Penelope, don't dog ear the pages. We use a bookmark instead. So Penelope recited before school on Wednesday morning, use a bookmark instead. Don't dog ear a page. Never dog ear a page. Precisely, Miss Briscoe set Penelope to work making a big stack of book care bookmarks. "Thanks for helping me spread the word. Dog-eared pages are a real problem." Penelope slipped the bookmarks into her doctor bag and settled down to browse through 2 books about veterinarians. She was shocked to find a dog-eared page in each, and one of the dog ears was about to fall off. She rushed to the book hospital and watched Miss Briscoe treat the first patient. "I can do that," said Penelope, and she did. In Mr. Hempel's class, Penelope handed out the bookmarks to all of her classmates. "Meet me at the operating table and I'll show you why you need these." She opened up the dictionary to a dog-eared page and gently folded the corner back into place. Then she removed the backing from the corner repaired square. She carefully attached it to the page and smoothed it down. Ruthie held up her finger. "It's like my split." On Thursday in the book hospital, Miss Briscoe handed Penelope a stack of plastic book care bags from the top shelf. Penelope read, "Book care rule number 4. Keep books safe from babies, pets, and liquids. Babies, pets, and liquids." "Unless you keep the books safe in these bags," Miss Briscoe said, "there's no hope for some of these books." Penelope glanced at the patient on the table. Its top and bottom corners had been chewed and its pages were ripped and stuck together. "We can save it." We can't save it," Penelope cried. Miss Briscoe shook her head. "We can only try to replace it." And boys and girls, whenever we um, allow our pets to read our books and they chew them up, we have a procedure that when those kind of accidents happen, you bring them into Mrs. Kublik or Mrs. Dewar in the library, and we find out how much it's going to cost to replace the book. Moms and dads write a check so we can go to our library-bound stores. We can get books with reinforced spines so that our frequent checked out books can live a long time in our library. Accidents happen, but we just need to know how to properly fix it. Okay? Penelope handed out book care bags to each student in her class. "What are you going to do to the dictionary today, Penelope?" Cameron asked. Penelope just shook her head. Just promise me you'll use the bag. Friday, Penelope discovered a book someone had shoved carelessly around another book on the shelf. The pages of the book were bent and crumpled. That happens even in our library. Some books get squeezed together and one's inside another book. You have to be careful. Penelope carried it carefully to the book hospital. Someone forgot the last book care rule. Use a shelf marker to hold your spot and then replace books carefully on the shelves. Can we help? Miss Briscoe sighed and smoothed the pages gently. Penelope stepped forward. I can do that. And she did. In the hallway, Sadie rushed up to Penelope. Come quick! What's wrong? Penelope asked. It's the big dictionary. It's fallen behind the radiator. The book was wedged between the radiator and the wall, with its front cover pages bent backwards, and many pages were crumpled and folded. Penelope reached into her deep into her bulging medical bag and removed her stethoscope. What if we slide this under the patient and then lift very slowly? Mr. Hempel followed Penelope's instructions, and Penelope snatched the book into her arms. She rushed it over the operating table. Penelope cleaned the book with book care wipes. She healed torn pages. She smoothed the crumpled pages back into proper position. Then she stretched two wide elastic bands tightly into place at the top and bottom of the book. Now the patient will need to rest for a week. When Penelope looked up, Mr. Hempel was standing behind the circle of classmates surrounding her. Miss Briscoe stood at her side. Mr. Hempel cleared his throat. Penelope, we have a gift for you. He handed Penelope a small box. Inside was a shiny engraved badge. Penelope grinned. Will you pin it on me, please? Miss Briscoe removed Penelope's old doctor badge and pinned on the new one. As she did, the class burst into applause. And there we have Penelope Popper. I hope you enjoyed that story. Remember, we have 4 rules that we learned from this story. Remember rule number 1? Let's turn back to the pages and find book care rule number 1. I want to make sure I say them right to you. Okay. Book care rule number 1. Wash your hands before reading a book. Book care rule number 2. Turn the pages by the corners. Book care rule number 3. Miss Kublik's looking for it. Don't dog ear the pages. Use a bookmark instead. Put that bookmark, it could be a little sticky note, a little piece of paper, or an actual bookmark. But don't fold the corners of the books. Use a bookmark instead. Then our books will last longer. Book care rule number 4. Keep books safe from babies, pets, get those whiskers, and liquids. Babies, pets, and liquids. And then book care rule number 5. That's where we would use a bookmark, a shelf marker. We're not going to use that this year. We're going to use Mrs. Kublink to pull the books off the shelf. So 4 book care rules to keep our books safe and healthy in our Manatee Library and even your own personal library at home. I hope you enjoyed Penelope Popper, and I hope that you'll help me be a good book doctor at Manatee.